take away this screen so I don't look like an amateur. Here, let me close this. Alright, now let's scroll this down. See, this is the problem with this goddamn camera. These clips, how it clips onto the shit, it's not that great. The problem is I got this up here, this nasty roof, because that's where the fucking rain came. I told you about that, right?
Right. Yeah.
There we go. That looks
Perfect.
good.
Perfect. All right, ready?
Hold on 1 second.
Cool.
A little bit. Okay, ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Here we go. And going live. This is the Left Coast Live. It is Tuesday, March 26th. I am your host, Dieter McBusiness, joined by my co-host, Stat Pat, Stateless Patriot. What's good, my man? How are you in the nether regions of California?
Oh man, nether regions is a great descriptor. I really like that. So it's been really good. Honestly, I have been pretty great. I got a gym membership. I'm going to local In Shape now, and it's kind of insane to me. Like I'm actually dedicating even more of the sparingly free time that I have to working out. So like
That's wonderful.
really though, yeah. Like it's been years in the making, and I'm kind of hooked already. Like honestly, like
Nice. What are you focusing on? Cardio, weights, what?
cardio. Yeah, mostly
Yeah,
cardio.
get that base of cardio established, and then
Yeah. So
and then
the
everything else gets so much easier if you get that cardio going.
yeah, the elliptical, the cycling, the treadmill. Like I walked 2 miles, I think yesterday, and yeah, it's invigorating. And then the sauna right afterwards, just sweat everything out. It's great. Honestly, I really enjoy it. Like it's been a long time coming, and I'm happy to keep it up. It's crazy too because like I already have very bad trouble getting up in the morning. Like I just snooze through each and every alarm endlessly. So actually committing to dedicating like an hour or so before work starts, like early in the morning, like 6 or 7,
That's the way to do it.
is yeah. It's gonna be
And then it's behind you, and then it's done. It's in the can. You have to
right.
think about getting it done, and
Yep.
it's just that's the way to do it. That's back when I was somewhat respected athlete. That's the way I lived, was getting up and working out super early,
Right.
and getting into it, and then you just feel so much better throughout the rest of the day, and you sleep better.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. I'm looking
That's the
forward.
best unexpected. That's the best benefit of the cardio workout and just
Yeah.
working out in general is like you sleep so much better.
Hell yeah.
And then by extension, you think better.
Right.
By
Exactly.
extension, you think better.
Yeah. It's quite the task, but yeah, I'm looking forward to how my sleep's gonna go tonight for sure.
We had a very busy news day, I would
Dude,
say.
this whole weekend, yeah, insane.
I Let's open up with the very straightforward story of this. I guess this is speeded up. This is sped up, but my God, look at this. This is the Baltimore. This is 695, right? Something like that. 695
Is that the
around Baltimore Beltway. Yeah, it's the Baltimore Beltway.
the name of the
man, look how quickly
highway?
it goes down. Yeah, yeah. I've driven on that. I've driven on it coming from Baltimore to
Oh, I
Washington.
couldn't tell which direction it was going for a second. Like,
It goes right into the thing. See, it made it. If it didn't hit the damn tower, it might not have been as bad. But
right?
because it took out the tower,
Yeah.
and it just falls like a deck of cards too. Look at this.
Yeah, I've seen it from a different angle. I actually haven't seen this one.
Oh. Yeah,
Damn.
this is a zoomed up security camera.
Oof. Yeah.
Oh,
It.
man.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Damn. That's
gonna
insane.
That's going to take a long time to clean up. Oh,
Yeah.
it hurts, man. It hurts to watch.
It really does. Fortunately, from what I heard about this is,
Not many
um,
people were hurt, right?
fortunately, no, there wasn't that many as far as I know. Two people were recovered because what happened was the ship, the crew on the ship actually um, called for like they said Mayday basically. However, a shipping crew does that, and they were able to get a hold of port authority and bridge
Emergency
authority.
responders. Yeah.
Exactly. And they were able to shut down the bridge like in the nick of time, basically. Because if they hadn't have done that, there would have been far more people driving across that bridge, and would have been a much different situation. But from what I understand, I think there were 6 construction workers actually on the bridge. 4 of them are still missing. 2 of them are recovered. One of them was completely fine. Um, but yeah, just insane footage. Honestly, I didn't see it from that angle. Like I only saw just like the broad bridge collapsing, so I didn't really see the collision or anything like that. But man, like quick thinking, honestly, and this is going to affect shipping. The supply
Oh
chain
yeah.
is going to be disrupted because
Yeah,
this.
the East Coast is going to get
Yeah.
the East Coast is going to get work because the Port of Baltimore
Hmm.
is the supply point for Washington
Yeah.
and very much of all the way out to Fairfax, Virginia, places like that.
Yeah,
Huge
Virginia,
areas. So
Pennsylvania, yeah, yeah. It's
and
gonna it's gonna be quite a while, like honestly. So
yeah, it's the 695. Yep.
yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely insane. But I mean, I heard that bridge was built in the 70s, so it's been there for a minute. It's a bit of an older bridge. I mean, not many bridges are meant to withstand gigantic shipping containers ramming into them. So like it's gonna be quite the cleanup. But apparently there's no significant signs of pollution from the bridge. Apparently, but still, cleanup's gonna be quite the hassle.
yeah, it won't be as bad as Katrina or the oil spill.
No, of course
The
not. No.
Gulf Coast is so much worse
Oh, of
than
course, yeah.
everyone else. We should watch a video sometime on the importance of the Mississippi River in the development of the country. People don't understand, I think, very small percentage of our population understands how important the Mississippi River was to building the economy.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was effectively another coast. Like it became a highway into the interior part of the country
Yeah.
and is a big reason why, Chicago became such a big deal and all up and down.
Right.
That river is a big deal. Anyway,
Yeah.
I wanted to get in, but that's one of those things for our segment, everything every American should know.
Right.
That would be one of the ones I would add to it. Let's go to the polls because
What
we
we
love
got?
to update on the polls. And so far, let me see if I can zoom in here. I don't know. Can I zoom in? Let me see. Yeah, there we go.
Sweet.
See, I'm good.
Sweet.
Okay, so Morning Consult. I love Morning Consult when they go north of 5,000 sample size, man. Oh, makes my day.
Yeah.
So just under 6,000 sample size, pretty impressive sample size, and Biden's up by 1. So pretty sure that's within the margin of error.
Right.
It's not very telling, but here are the polls that matter. Okay, that's just to be responsible and show you what's going on overall. That's what everyone looks at. Let's look at the actual state specific races, starting with Arizona, and Trump's up by 3 according to the most recent one. Now, I'm starting with Arizona because I think this is the most likely to go back to being red. I think this is the furthest reach for the Dems.
Yeah.
And the data suggests as much, with Trump being at least 3 points ahead of Biden in almost every poll except for Yeah, it's always 3 points. Yeah, so he smokes him. So I think it's pretty
Yeah.
safe to assume that Joe Biden is not going to be inspiring too many people in Arizona. Then we can go ahead
Right.
and give that to Big Donald. Now, the other interesting. What do you want to do? You want to do Midwest? Or you want to do Georgia?
Georgia's good.
Let's do
Let's
Pennsylvania. You want to do Georgia? Let's do Georgia.
start
All
with
right,
there.
let's do
Yeah.
Georgia. All right, Georgia. Very small sample size. I'm not digging that. This one's
Yeah.
big. Trump's up 5 in this one. Trump's up 3 in this one. Trump's up a decent amount.
Yeah, it's
Emerson.
likely
Yeah,
they'll
so
flip red again. Flip
now
back to
these
red.
are a little bit older polls, but they are after the State of the Union. These are
Right.
basically the post State of the Union polls, but it's not encouraging.
No.
It's not encouraging. So I still think Atlanta saves the day. That was a story.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't even Atlanta didn't really save the day. Atlanta really kind of blew it out the box in 2020. So hopefully the Dems can hold on to Georgia, but
Right.
I wouldn't count on it. And if they don't hold on to Georgia or Arizona, that means let's go to the one. I actually think let's go to Pennsylvania first. That means it comes down to Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. If Biden doesn't win Arizona and Georgia, he's got to win all 3 of those. All right. So these are
Yeah.
the ones. Again, these polls were from 8 days ago. So they're not the hottest thing off the press, but they are still very
Yeah.
relevant.
Yeah.
So Trump is up 2. They're dead even in 2 of these in these 2 CNN polls. CNN's
Yeah.
always a little iffy. And then other than that, though, Trump's up 3. He's up 4. He's up 4. Back to even. So it's either even or Trump's up by a few points,
Right.
which is disconcerting.
Of course.
That's really disconcerting. And
Yeah.
then let's go to Michigan. Michigan should be maybe more secure because Michigan's. Yeah, Michigan is stronger on. Oh, that's Whitmer. Yeah, Biden's no Biden. I thought would be a little bit stronger here, but he's not.
Wow.
Yeah, this is again, we're talking about 8 days ago, so things could have changed. But I think it's fair to say that whatever energy was coming out of the State of the Union has since evaporated.
All right. It's not
and
really
is-
being reflected.
and is no more. And I think that we really should do a video, or at least I might just do a video and have it ready to go if and when something happens, or if this catches fire, try to make some kind of viral video campaign about replacing Biden, because I just think it's such a good you don't have, not now, right? We can't really start talking about it now because the only time to do it would be at the convention.
Sure.
What am I doing here? Michigan, Wisconsin, that's what I wanted. But this is Wisconsin again, ending on the 18th. Registered voters for Emerson. Trump up 3. Trump up 4. Oh
Wow.
man,
It's amazing
At
how
least Biden's got 1 win here at the morning consult, but look, that sample size is pretty small.
right.
Oh man, yeah, it's gonna be close, man. If they stick with Biden, it's gonna be close. So that's why I think that they gotta replace him, but
I
they
mean,
don't have to do anything. It's a Democratic Party. They pretty much always do the path of least resistance and stick with their bad decisions rather than admit they're wrong, learn from them, and do better, like
Of
grown-ups
course.
do.
Yeah. No. Exactly. Yeah. I did see there. Whitmer was up. I mean, I suppose that was just like a hypothetical option. In one of those polls. I also did see Harris didn't fare too well. Newsom fared really, really poorly in that last one.
Let me
Like,
see. Which one
I think it was this
are you
Wisconsin
talking
one.
about? Wisconsin?
Yeah, like right there.
Oh yeah, but Wisconsin. Yeah, Newsom gets worked in Wisconsin. Harris
Yeah.
loses by a few points.
Yeah, weird.
That was back in February, though.
Oh, okay, for sure.
That was back in February.
Hmm.
Anyway, so those are the latest polls. So I think when we were talking pregame here, we were like, maybe we should take some responsibility, or at least I should, because I feel like I've been maybe a little bit louder than you. I don't know, about replacing Biden and thinking it's a good idea. I know that there's excuse me. I know that there's a tendency to want dramatics I know that there's a tendency for people to want to be a part of something dramatic, and
Yeah.
that's not where this comes from.
Of
This
course.
is a very practical decision. Yes, it's bold, but it's not uncalled for. It's very much called for. And I mean, if you want to come out with someone, it's too bad if that they haven't been treating Gretchen Whitmer the way they've been treating Gavin Newsom, because Gretchen Whitmer should have been, being showcased these last
Yeah.
6 months, but instead it's been Newsom. And again, here we are though with Kamala Harris being just the end all and be all of this problem. If
Yeah.
that's Gretchen Whitmer in the VP spot, really don't have a problem here.
Yeah.
really
no
don't have a
kidding.
big problem here.
Right.
We really don't. But we
Yeah.
had to go. We had to go with Kamala. Why did we go with Kamala again? Why did we not go with
Yeah.
Gretchen Whitmer? What are we doing here?
No kidding. Yeah, they must
Leadership.
must just been desperate, and she had the most name recognition at the time, and just like throwing shit against the wall, and that's what stuck, I suppose.
All right, let's do this Steven Crowder bit. So for those of you who don't know, Steven Crowder is one of the biggest POSs in our business.
Oh yeah.
And this is one of our favorites, Mike Figueredo of the Humanist Report. This is his channel.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure we give him credit.
For years.
Big props.
And
This place-
this is a former employee of Steven Crowder. I've got it on sped up mode. Actually,
I'm currently being
let's
legally
do this at 1.5. Yeah.
There we go.
All right.
abused and intimidated into silence by a former employer. This has been going on for a while now, and it simply cannot live in darkness for another day. But I am asking for your help to fight back. I signed this separation agreement, an NDA containing a strict and very broad non-disparagement clause many years ago. I voluntarily left my job after deciding I could no longer put myself or my growing family through the toxic and abusive work environment I had endured for years. This place was and is to this day a workplace rife with sexual misconduct, degeneracy, and aggression. The things I saw, the things done to me, and the things I witnessed my employer do to others were disgusting, shocking, and utterly indefensible.
Yeah.
I have the receipts.
As Livia Soprano says, "Poor you."
Yeah. I mean, he.
What did you expect, dude? What did you expect? He's a white trash bully.
Yeah.
He talks fast. Yeah, he's got like a little bit of wit to him, but if you actually do some digging on what he says, he's garbage, man. He's human garbage.
Right.
So what do you? How do you think if he's gonna treat? He's gonna treat everybody like that. Who doesn't actually respect as his equal? He probably had a couple of guys he was close with.
Yeah, at the beginning it was probably more about like just opportunism, and saw Steven Crowder as a vehicle for that, not knowing just the full extent of how just horrendous Steven Crowder is. And that's the case for, I mean, most relationships or contracts or agreements that you get into, you don't really know like the full scope of like what you're dealing with or what you're getting into until you're there for a while and you start to see
Right, the
Just-
people that put their guards down.
just the worst of people. It just slowly starts to emerge over time.
It's funny, I've worked in corporate America, several different companies as a consultant, and I've worked on movie sets, and I've worked in, movie and TV development and all that stuff, and I've been on construction sites and whatever. But it's funny, Hollywood gets a bad rap as like attracting fake people, but I got to tell you, the real artists, the people that stay in the business and stay successful and stay hungry and keep telling great stories, they're as real as it gets, man.
Yeah, they're driven.
People who hate on Hollywood, if they would put their guard down and talk to a lot of the artists that I know in the business, they would love them. They would be like, tell me more about your craft and why you're so passionate about it. Because they're not doing it for the money. They're doing it because they want to tell stories.
And that's
I
how
mean,
you...
the money's great, but
Yeah,
it's just a
and
product of the
that's
market.
how you can tell like how authentic a person is, and that kind of thing also drives them, and like if they're not motivated by just the money and success, you're going to get a lot like you're going to get better quality out of that person as well.
So one video that I'm going to make at some point is the counterintuitive understanding of performance, because our politicians, whether we like it or not, there is a demand for performance skills. Obama was a fantastic orator,
Oh
and
yeah.
that is not necessarily acting, but it is performance. And Hillary was given a lot of shit, and like many other politicians who have gotten caught red-handed like this, getting paid to speak to a company or whatever, and she admits that you have a public and private persona,
Yeah.
right? My response to that was, you only have two personas? Maybe that's why you're so limited. Like, where's your party persona? Where's your poverty-stricken family persona? Because you're not going to be the same person in those contexts.
Of course
Like,
not.
so the truth is that the authenticity that comes from performance is what's counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Is the people who are really good at performing, like really great actors, they're not really great liars. Hold on. I'll start that over. So my point is that performance, a lot of people think, is about being a good liar, and that's not true. The truth about performance is that authenticity will show up if the people who are expressing themselves do so from a place of honesty.
Yeah.
And I think that's what bummed out a lot of people about Hillary Clinton, is that it was just so contrived. I mean,
Of
she was
course.
just not in touch with herself. She was not like comfortable in her own skin. And
No.
can you blame her? It's pretty obvious why. She had a husband who's one of the most legendary charm artists in the history of the Oval Office. Like,
Yeah.
that guy could work a room like no other, man. That guy was the neoliberal corporate centrists, like
Yeah.
corporate centrism. That was Bill Clinton. And I can only imagine what it must have been like to be his partner and kind of be in his shadow the whole time. With
Yeah.
that said, he did his part to promote her, and she ended up becoming a senator, so
Yeah.
it all worked out. But the point is that someone along the line should have got in her face and be like, you need to take an acting class. You need to legitimately go do, I don't care if it's Shakespeare or an audition class or something, but you need to learn how to get in touch with your goddamn emotions, because she's still clueless.
No,
She's
big-
still clueless.
Of course, big time.
And the whole thing with the Clintons too is the Clinton Foundation. What is it, like $250 million that they made off of the Clinton Foundation or something ridiculous like that?
Something like
it's
that,
absolutely
yeah.
asinine. It's
Crazy.
absolutely asinine. Anyway,
Yeah.
do you have anything on that, or do you want to get back into Crowder?
No, I mean, like, I'm pretty much in agreement with you. Like, you literally need to have multiple personas so that way you can level with people. Like, because you're going to come across all sorts of different characters on your political trajectory, like in your career. Like if you're going, especially if you're going to be in a position of power, so to speak, you're going to have to face all different aspects of, people's needs, people's desires, all walks of life. For example, like so like it's important to be as in touch as possible, but not limit yourself to thinking just one certain way about whether it be the working class or the impoverished or whatever, because like people think differently. All sorts of people, like, you're
Right.
never going to find someone like completely ideologically identical or aligned. And not even people that are working class, like more savvy people, I guess, so more esteemed people. Like you're going to want to. It goes down deep to like a very deep level to where you can't just be one note. You can't be one dimensional. You have to be multifaceted. So like I totally agree with you.
I think the implicit understanding is that the publicly elected official will be socially adaptable to
Yeah.
the citizen.
Yeah, adaptable.
It's appropriate. It's appropriate for the publicly elected official to adapt to the citizen, not the other way around.
Exactly.
And I think that a lot of citizens they go one of two ways. Either they are like blown away by the celebrity of the politician. I'm sure AOC struggles with that. And then there's the negative reaction, which is just blaming that politician for all of your problems because
Of
you want
course.
to blame the government for all your problems and yada yada yada. We could talk about that all day. Who's
Right.
really at fault in our system, the government or the government that we elect? I mean, But the point is that the authenticity that comes from real people like Barack Obama. I mean, look, it's like the left has got to get it right with Barack Obama criticism because there's so much loyalty for him.
Mm-hmm.
He was too nice. He was a
Right.
nice guy. I think
Yeah.
we can get a lot of leftists on board and a lot of other people who aren't voting on board with the message of no more Mr. Nice Progressive. No more.
Yeah, of course.
No more Mr. Nice Leftists.
Yeah, totally agree. And it's like there are a lot of crazy MAGA types that still seem so convinced that Obama is the one pulling the strings because, he said he wanted a third term, this, that, and Biden was his VP. It's like Obama's got to have some sort of say. It's like, I mean, for one, what purpose does that serve? Like, what difference does it make if Obama's the one calling the shots right now? Who cares? Honestly, it's like just another
It's just their
conspiracy brain.
It's just their way to rile up the base. I mean,
Yeah.
the left, the right is just a series of buttons, and you just got to
Yeah.
push the right button at the right time, and you don't even have to time it up that well. If you
Of
just
course.
push racism, push it; xenophobia, push it;
Yeah.
Islamophobia, push it;
it-
homophobia, push it; transphobia, push it.
Yeah.
Like you just got to push any of those cultural buttons, and then they'll just light up and be like, "Oh, what? Our country's going to hell. The good old days.
Yeah.
When were the good old days?" It's like
all the talking points start falling out. It doesn't even matter if they start contradicting themselves right in front of you. Yeah.
all right, let's blitz through this guy. This poor guy's been waiting on us here. Let's just blitz through this real quick.
Seats. This all took a serious toll on my personal health.
For
The point near
you.
the end of my tenure, the work environment had become so toxic that I had to be admitted into a heart hospital. And after many tests, I was ultimately put on anti-anxiety medication. This condition was something new to me. I had no history of it prior to my employment there and have never been treated for it since.
Poor guy. Jesus Christ.
You just heard from Jared Monroe, known as Not Gay Jared, on Steven Crowder's YouTube show Louder with Crowder, and he has now set up a GoFundMe to help him cover the cost of legal fees that he accrued due to years and years of legal intimidation from his former employer, Steven Crowder. Now, in a 15-minute long video, Jared alleges that he was coerced into signing a strict NDA, a non-compete that he didn't want to sign once he announced that he was leaving the company. Now, he says that he left due to a toxic work environment and sexual misconduct, as well as sexual degeneracy and aggression. Now, he quickly learned that leaving wasn't so easy once he announced that he was resigning, because he found himself in a perpetual state of lawfare against Crowder, and he claims that he's not the only ex-Crowder employee who's been subjected to the same type of legal intimidation, and he also alleges that Crowder is doing all of this to his ex-employees so that way they don't spill the tea on his double life and secrets. That's Jared's words, not mine. We'll get to the video in a moment. Now, he makes it very clear that he has receipts to prove all of this, hence why Crowder is trying so hard to silence him. Now, I do believe Jared because he's not the first ex-employee of Crowder's to speak out about the uncomfortable position that Crowder often put them in. For example, Owen Benjamin alleges that Crowder would make his employees dress up under the guise of making fun of transgender people and explains, quote, "How is dressing like degenerate fruitcakes owning the left? I agreed, so I'm no victim, but I felt very uncomfortable saying no, and I didn't want to let down the team. Over time, I realized more and more that we weren't owning anyone, and I just kept being asked to wear really degrading and sexualizing outfits." Now, this has been Crowder's MO for a while. I mean, he'll find any excuse to dress in drag under the pretense of doing comedy or owning the libs or making fun of LGBTQ plus people, especially trans people, when it's painfully obvious that he just wants to dress in women's clothing because he feels more comfortable wearing women's clothing. And of course, there's nothing inherently wrong with him doing that aside from the transphobic.
Okay. It's a little heavy on the diagnosis there because I don't know if that's necessarily true. He just feels more comfortable in women's clothing.
I think it's true.
He likes it doesn't matter.
Yeah, of course.
The point is that he
right.
likes the he's an attention whore.
Exactly.
He's an attention whore. That's the important takeaway.
Yeah.
Is that the guy is an attention addict.
Exactly, but I mean, it's kind of more so the fact that he's done it so very often. Like, have you seen the video of Steven Crowder dressing up as a woman or as a trans woman, and then going to the gym and just making a fool out of himself? Like,
No.
no, he literally, like, okay, so like he even gets his camera crew to follow him in, and he's like, he's trying to be ridiculous, but like when he's interacting with staff, the staff like is kind of just unfazed by it. Like they like help him with like because he's just being like stereotypical weak woman. Oh, you help me with this and whatnot, and like they just don't care. Nobody cares. Like if anything, like nobody gives a shit. Like it was like he. I don't know what's going through his head, like because he wants to make it this thing to be like trans people are just so ridiculous, and that there's just nothing to it. It's ridiculous.
Phobia that he's espousing, but his employees very clearly didn't feel as comfortable as he did in drag, as evidenced by what they've said after leaving the company. And with respect to Jared, the Surf shared screenshots from a skit that he did with Crowder, where Crowder made them both touch each other and even made out while both of them were in drag, all under the pretense of making fun of trans people. And not to mention, there's also this video.
Libs owned.
Now, Steven Crowder chose to post that video to his public Twitter account on his own volition. I'm not joking about this. Now, I couldn't find the original, so he might have deleted the tweet, but that is a video of him with his own employee. And it's funny how all of his comedy skits involve him and his employees dressing in a sexual manner, right? I mean, it's a bit of a tell, is it not? Now, if that's the kind of stuff that Steven Crowder was sharing publicly, we don't even have to imagine how much worse it probably was behind the scenes. And I say we don't have to imagine that because we know how bad it was. In fact, in an expose published in the New York Intelligencer, journalist Matt Steeb reported that Steven Crowder allegedly sexually harassed his own male employees. Writing, in March of 2018, Crowder and his crew were driving in a van when a former producer he liked to call Not Gay Jared fell asleep in the back row. Steven was in front and he was joking about what he was going to do, a witness said. He climbed over and dropped his junk on top of Jared's shoulder. The same ex-staffer recalled that Crowder had exposed himself to Jared in 2017 while they were filming a parody version of Ghost. And on a flight in 2018, a different employee claims that they saw Crowder put his testicles on his childhood friend and assistant, John Goodman. Another employee remembered that Crowder had showed his genitals to Dave Landau, a comedian and former co-host who called Crowder a bully last week. Now, they say last week, but this is an article from last year. Now, they add Landau claimed that Crowder installed a Dave Don't Talk button on the show to get him to be quiet on air. Quote, at first, I took it as him trying to be friendly or one of the guys, said an ex-staffer. Now I see it was a power play. Crowder allegedly sent production assistants to do his laundry and could be an unreasonable micromanager, would make wild requests after hours to set people up for failure. Ex-staffers claim that he would regularly berate his team and threaten to fire people on the company's Discord channel. He even went after his own father, Darren Crowder, per one source, who claimed Crowder would yell at his dad in front of employees when Darren was working as his son's booker.
Yeah, it's God, his own father, and it's said that like it's rumored that it was his dad that intervened with Steven debating people on the left, and so like Sam Cedar had to surprise debate him.
Surprise him on E3.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Ethan Klein's show.
Insane.
No, he's
right.
taking a break.
Well, of course.
So this man allegedly abused his employees and created a hostile work environment, and now he's trying to silence them in order to keep a lid on the abuse that we don't yet know about. But Steven Crowder isn't just waging lawfare against his former employees, because in response to Jared's video, Candace Owens actually spoke out and accused him of doing the same thing to his wife, writing, wait till they find out what he's been doing to his wife. I never edited my opinion on Steven Crowder because I knew that everything would eventually be revealed. This really is going to be a year of revelations. Now, even though Candace Owens isn't necessarily the most reliable source, it's very plausible that she's correct here and that he is indeed subjecting his wife to the same lawfare as his former employees, because as Mediaite explains, Monroe isn't the only one who has been subjected to legal action from Crowder. In October, his company sued his estranged wife, Hillary Crowder, for torturous interference after her family accused him of mentally and emotionally abusive behavior in a statement to the journalist Yashar Ali. And that emotionally abusive behavior that they were talking about was exposed in Ring camera footage where he was vocally abusing his very pregnant wife. So he is using his wealth to crush anyone who dares to defy him. And with respect to Jared, it's evident that Crowder was maliciously just trying to destroy his life, as evidenced by the following details shared by Jared.
All I simply wanted to do was peacefully leave. It was clear by my employer, though, that this was not only unacceptable, but that I needed to be punished for doing so. Being bullied on each of these terms, and many more, fighting for my basic freedoms to leave and provide for my family, immediately sent me into legal debt. I did not want to sign anything, mind you. But the negotiations with my former employer left no question that without a signed NDA, my guaranteed silence, I would undoubtedly be harassed well into the future. The primary reason I signed the NDA was for a small carve-out in the non-compete clause, which allowed me to freely seek employment using some of my skill sets at another specific company. at least I could feed my family. That provision, however, was a lie. And upon starting my new job at the new said company, I was giving another one of these, a cease and desist, and was promptly unlawfully terminated from that position. I added thousands more to my legal debt trying to fight back. My wife was very pregnant by this time, and without a financial safety net for groceries and a baby crib, much less a legal fund to file a countersuit, I simply had to let it go, trusting God had a plan.
Crowder actually got him fired from his new job, even though he had a baby on the way. He was just trying to move on, take care of his family, sought other employment, and Crowder intervened for no good reason to get him fired. Now, Jared signed a non-compete, but what trade secrets specifically is Jared going to share with other companies, right? I don't know what the job was, but assuming he was working in media or had a media company, like what is he going to expose? How to do segments where you dress in drag and be overly racist? Like, what exactly is the purpose of this non-compete?
Yeah,
and it's all about control. That's what it feels
amazing.
like. And Jared goes on to explain that Crowder is able to legally intimidate employees into silence because he has virtually unlimited funds to do so. And even if the terms of these NDAs don't hold up in the court of law, which I don't know, but even if they don't, simply challenging them in and of itself is very costly for people like Jared who don't have the power and wealth that Steven Crowder has. But since Jared did challenge them and refused to comply with any of Crowder's legal threats, well, his life has basically been ruined. And this was all because he wanted to just leave a job because his boss was terrible, toxic, abusive. He wanted to leave, but Crowder wouldn't let him. And to make matters even worse, Crowder made Jared turn over his own personal equipment and even made him turn over his personal Twitter account that he had before he started working for Crowder because he claimed that that was the intellectual property of the company. So there is so much here, so much that is really damaging for Crowder. And it's evident why he didn't want his employees to speak out, because this man was a tyrant. And it just kind of goes to show you how emboldened he felt because he has millions of dollars and a team of lawyers on his side. But I've got one more video of Jared.
Well, my supposed non-compete expired after 2 years. Unfortunately, the most egregious part of my NDA, the part that silences my free speech, has no expiration. While NDAs are classically used to protect trade secrets, unfortunately, in the entertainment industry, they are too often used to protect disgusting, unlawful activity and many forms of abuse. We see examples of this all the time. Powerful people and their attorneys routinely use NDAs to silence victims.
I like that Me Too stuff that you guys mocked.
Let me be clear. What I'm afraid of is legal harassment in perpetuity, not the truth. Only one side of this ordeal is spending a fortune to hide truth and punish anyone who dares speak up for themselves or other victims. I'm asking for donations for 2 reasons. Number one, obviously to help with the financial burden I've already accrued with this legal matter right here. That's taken care of. That matter is priority number one as I'm going further and further into debt with each passing day. The second reason I'm asking for financial assistance, is to proactively address my unconstitutional anti-free speech NDA, which is the basis for all of their claims against me. The simplest resolution here would be for Mac's employer to release me from the...
Yeah, I mean, just because it's a piece of paper and you signed it doesn't necessarily mean it's a legally binding document. That's the thing.
Right.
You could. This is like, I don't know what kind of lawyers he's working with, man, because there seems to be some countersuit opportunities here that he might have missed.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, it's really hard to say. Like, if it really does come down to money, then because he talks about his need for funding. Like he has like a, I don't know if it's a GoFundMe or.
Want me to finish it out real quick?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we'll get to that next part. Yeah.
From the NDA. Give me and my fellow ex-employees the same free speech they publicly champion for every other American. But I can almost guarantee you that will not happen. I've already witnessed them spend unfathomable amounts of money in other cases to protect their double life and secrets.
I mean, if that NDA is gone and Jared feels free to speak, there's going to be some pretty damaging stuff to Crowder's credibility there. I mean, Jared literally said that Crowder has already spent unfathomable amounts of money in his case and in other cases to protect his double life and secrets. So why would he let up now? And in response to Jared's video, the CEO of Crowder's company, Gerald Morgan, has basically said, yeah, we're not going to let up anytime soon. Quote, "We will not be intimidated by media smear tactics." Mr. Monroe entered into an agreement with Louder with Crowder that he knowingly violated. After discovering repeated violations, Louder with Crowder was forced to take legal action. The trial court has denied Mr. Monroe's effort to avoid the legal proceedings which are moving forward pursuant to the court's order. In other words, they're not denying the fact that they've been putting Jared through hell all this time. In fact, they're defending it. Now, keep in mind that Jared hasn't been with the company for more than 5 years at this point, and the fact that he is still forced to go through all of this tells you that Steven Crowder is willing to go to great lengths to protect the public from learning about whatever Jared knows. And it shows you also how tyrannical Steven Crowder is. But I mean, even without this information, to be clear, from his wife and his employees, I think it was already abundantly clear that Crowder was a terrible human being based on despicable, dehumanizing rhetoric that he used against marginalized people on his own show. I mean, before we learned about the alleged harassment from his own employees, we saw him publicly harass queer creators like Carlos Maza for years. So I'm not surprised that someone who exclusively punches down in public is also punching down in private as well. None of us should be. So in conclusion, when somebody tells you who they are, you should believe them.
Yeah.
The old Maya Angelou quote.
Excellent excellent work from Mike as usual.
Somebody tells you who they are, believe him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Mike's the best, man. Mike's just...
Yeah,
I mean,
he kicks
should have
ass.
gotten a job on mainstream media by now. He needs a... I don't know what kind of staff he's working with, but I hope he's... I think it's just him.
I think it might be him and one
but-
other person, and that's
Yeah.
it. But he's too far left to have like a mainstream position, honestly. David Packman, who's much to the right of Mike Figueroa, probably has a much better chance of securing like a mainstream media career or whatever. Because Mike
I can't
Figueroa's
get down with Pac-Man.
me neither. I've soured
get down with
I've
Pac-Man.
soured on him over the
He's
years.
so weird too. He's
A
so
little bit.
weird. Like Kalinske, like seems like a normal guy. Kalinske was a car salesman. You got to remember.
Oh,
That's like that. You know, that's
That
a
makes
cutting
sense.
point for his personality.
yeah.
Like,
Oh,
and
big
that's
time.
great. He was a good kind of car salesman. I'm sure it wasn't like some.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm sure he was. I'm sure he had tremendous integrity as a car salesman.
Right.
But
Yeah. As I've watched Mike over the years, because I've watched him like since. I mean, if we're talking about not Gay Jared.
before the beard, did you go? Were you with
Oh
him
yeah,
before
but
the beard?
yep, but before the yep.
Yeah, so you Gen Zers were tapped, or I guess you're a young millennial,
Yeah.
elder
Yeah,
Gen Zer,
yeah.
right? Yeah. So, but
Yeah.
you're still more than 10 years younger than me.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
back
you
when
guys
Gay
were
Jared was
tucked
still
into YouTube at an early age.
When he was still on Steven Crowder, like I had started watching him like 2018, 2019, and I've just seen Mike Figueredo get more and more left wing over the years. Like he went from a social democrat progressive to a full on socialist, and like I don't blame him at all.
Yeah, Mike's also seems like a pretty practical progressive. That's
Big
one
time.
phrase I would like to start to get out there is
Yeah.
practical
Big
progressivism.
time. He-
I want to I really want to try to, insofar as we can, do our part to kind of help other lefties use language better.
Yeah.
Practical progressivism, and also we're not anti-business, we're not anti-money,
hmm
we're anti-greed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
So get it together, guys. Like specificity. It's everything. It's everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, did you want to do another one here? Let's see who else we got. Oh, I want to give this guy some love. Bird with Wordless. He's got another one. Oh, good. He likes my. Check it out. He likes my idea. Practical progressivism.
yeah.
I got another series coming out. Bird with Wordless. Worldist. Bird Worldist. In 10 times fast. The Progressive Offensive. And it's going to be a series. You know my series, Who Are MAGA? That I'm going to be finishing up.
Yeah.
Well, the next series is going to be called The Progressive Offensive. And
Yeah.
then I got another series after that it's got a working name, so I'm not going to mess with that. But I'm going to be talking about the realities of the socio-political context in which we are living, the sacrifices and commitment and strategy required to win, because
Yeah.
I am not convinced. I mean, I don't see leadership. I really don't. I see dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I see people who have been in positions of power on the left for over 2 decades, or usually more than that. I mean, Biden,
5
was elected when he was
decades.
29. Yeah.
Yeah. No kidding.
So, yeah, it's gonna be kind of a son of the East Coast corridor, teaching people what the corridor is
yeah.
and what's required to win. Because my whole theory is that if we can get California right, if we can fix California, then we can be the shining example. Then we can be the city on the hill in the country, protected by water. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like we can be the actually beacon of hope if we solve some major problems.
Yeah.
But we're still talking about a lot of things that we've been talking about for a really long time, and it feels like we've had plenty of opportunities in this state to get ahead of things like guns and homelessness, obviously a huge
Of
issue,
course.
housing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in the movie like Taxi Driver, there's like a throwaway line in the middle of it talking about how because the movie's based in New York, talking about how, well, I hear in California they're allowing gays to have civil unions over there, allowing them to get married or whatever. And it's like, huh, wow, nothing wrong with that. I'm glad that there's someone doing it right. Like there's actually some progress being made in this country. It's just like this throwaway line, and this is a movie from 1976. So it's just like, yeah, let's keep that up, California. Jeez.
Yeah, California's got a great reputation in terms of people who know their history and people who understand the global economy.
Yeah.
But if you don't understand those things, then you kind of resent California, like off there with their awesome weather and their snobby people and Hollywood types and stuff.
Right.
But yeah, I think it could be an example. So, Bird Wordlist has actually a point here that you might be able to help with. Cali is rich enough to be its own successful country. Very
Yeah.
true. I think Newsom did some good proposals with drug prices, right? Specifically insulin. I believe that's right, but it's a good example of like a small problem when we need to be solving big problems. And the biggest one with Newsom is that he came in with all kinds of talk about single payer. And he just gave up
Yeah.
once he got in
Dropped
office.
the
He also
ball.
botched this Prop 1. Although, actually, it ended up passing. So Prop 1 ended up passing, so he ended up getting what
Right.
he wanted. But
Yeah.
but he didn't play it the right way. I don't
course.
know, man. When you think of, let me ask you this. When you think of progressivism, do you think winners? When you think of progressives,
If
do
this
you
was
think winners?
if this was like 3 or 4 years ago, I would have said yeah. But nowadays, I don't really like that sentiment. Doesn't really spark winning to me. Like it doesn't really. I wouldn't think so. I would disagree. That's
Yeah.
not the first thing
It
that
doesn't-
comes to mind. No.
Winning doesn't come to mind when you hear
No.
the word progressives or progressivism. Okay, very good.
No.
So this is a branding test. So what about the word toughness and California? Do you think when people think of California, they think tough?
No.
Do you think when they think of Californians, do you think they think tough?
Do I think Californians think tough?
No. Do you, outsiders, people outside of California?
Oh, I think California stuff. No, probably
No,
not.
absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So those are the two big changes. Progressives need to become winners, and that's going to start with California learning how to become politically tough. I'm sure personally there are a lot of tough, good, well-intended Democratic politicians in California. It's fantastic. But this paradigm of all politics is local, nope, it's the opposite now.
Right.
That's the biggest thing that Trump flipped, is that all politics is not local now. All politics is national.
Yeah.
And whether you like it or not, the intellectual reformation is coming, whether it be in this election or 4 years from now, if we have another election in 4 years, right? Hold on, we
Right.
got some more love from Bird Worldist. I'm in Oklahoma, so even a small victory sounds nice.
Gotta
Oh, man.
hear that. Man.
Is Destiny your neighbor? Destiny lives in Oklahoma, doesn't he?
Oh, really?
Bird Worldist again. People outside of Cali will think of a soy latte before they think tough when it comes to Cali. There's
Yeah.
your honest answer. Told you.
Yeah.
See, this is
it's
political marketing. There's
Successful. Yeah.
So there's policy, there's politics, and then there's political marketing. Okay? And it takes all three of those things in
Yeah.
order to produce a successful coalition. It's about a wave. You know, the Republicans, this all started with 12 years of conservatism starting in 1980. Let's be serious. The world
Yeah.
that we're living in now comes about as the end of the Cold War and that transition into the global economy that we're now living in. That all started in 1980, and we got addicted to this idea that tax cuts are somehow the vehicle for economic growth. And the conservatives just seem to be okay with that.
Right.
I just
Yeah.
how does that make any intuitive sense? You don't need to be an economist to know that that's stupid.
Of course. Yeah, and all this really does come down to is marketing on the Republican side, because
Right.
if you repeat the same rhetoric and talking points for long enough, like yeah, you're going to associate California with communists, with soy boys, and this and that, like softies,
Right.
or you're gonna associate Illinois, another blue state, with crime because of Chicago, one of the
Chicago.
biggest cities in the country. But you know what's funny? I think even Republicans and conservatives would concede that when you think of New York, which is a deep blue state, you think toughness. You
Absolutely.
know, I you
I think when you think Boston, you think toughness. I
yeah,
know when you say Philly, people think toughness. Philly's
yeah,
the toughest town. I think Philly's the toughest town in America.
yeah,
I really
yeah.
do. I think it's tough. I think it's harder to live there than any other major metropolitan area in the
Yeah,
country.
and when you, it's like, and when you, I'm sure, like I'm not going to cite this as fact because I don't know the statistics, but I'm sure if you look at those three cities, New York, Boston, Philly, I'm sure that their crime statistics aren't too far off from Chicago's. Yet Chicago gets all the
Crust.
yeah, gets dogpiled on because it's trending
It's
conservative
Obama's
media.
hometown.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, let's
that
be
had a
serious. It's
whole
Obama's
lot
hometown.
to do with it. Yeah,
It's whatever's obvious is true when it comes to marketing. Okay, marketing is not complicated. As soon as you start to think that you're brilliant when you're talking about marketing, you're not brilliant. No. You sequence logic together from the viewer's point of view, and the viewer
yes,
is not stupid, but they're not brilliant.
of course.
And it's not necessarily that they're even that's not even the right way to frame it. It's a matter of attention span. How
Really though,
long are
yeah,
they going to think about this?
they
How long are they going to think about, oh, there's Gavin Newsom. He's that California governor. What do I think about California? Oh, he looks like a surfer dude. Like I hear he likes to ski. Oh, go figure. He comes from money. His best, well, we'll talk about those relationships
yeah,
someday.
conservative media in general, Fox News, they got their viewership by the nose. Just take a look at the recent the coverage of the damn bridge collapse.
Right.
What are they doing? They're immediately like tying it somehow to the border
Pete
as
Buttigieg.
if it's even
Oh, the
remotely
border.
related. Like
I didn't even see that. That's hilarious.
yeah, like one of the pundits on Fox like tried to just like there's like a Daily Show clip that of like this mock guy trying to because you know how anchors have someone in their ear like
Yeah, and producers in their ear. Yeah.
yeah, and it shows this guy. Okay, I just somehow, some way. I know this doesn't make sense, but we need to just insert we need to blame the border somehow. We need to actually tie this to immigration to somehow just even if she has to, even if you have to mention it. Yes, I can't believe she did that. It literally how what even goes through their minds. It doesn't
Right.
even matter because as long it's like I said, they have their viewership by the nose. It doesn't have to make sense as long as you get them outraged, as long as you keep their engagement, and just saying.
Well, I talk about this on
garbage.
my YouTube channel. I say that their news is not just their news, it's their entertainment. Okay, that's not terribly insightful. Take it one step further. Their news is not just their entertainment, it is also their religion. This is not real Christianity that they're celebrating on this side of the aisle, y'all. I know
Yeah.
my text, and this is not consistent with the values of the New Testament. This
Yeah,
is
not
not
even remotely
real
close.
Christianity. This is not
Yeah.
real patriotism, even.
No.
Insofar as patriotism is a good thing, according to Oscar Wilde, it's not, as I was reminded as I cut up my old episodes into shorts, which apparently paid some dividends because we got some nice viewers coming in here.
Hell
I'm
yeah.
here with Stat Pat. We're talking politics, and we're going to move on to the next thing. I got to actually, while we got some viewers, okay, so this is one thing that I want to, be part of our brand, or at least mine, that maybe you can support me with. But every leftist needs to watch this documentary because understanding America requires that you understand sports.
In pro football, nobody's entitled to anything. You have to go out there and earn it.
I was pretty intent on proving myself.
We were going to determine the future of football in New England.
The Patriots are Super Bowl champions! First dynasty of the century.
This game is like a narcotic. You're chasing that forever.
Breaking news right now.
Spygate. Deflategate.
Aaron couldn't separate himself from that dark side.
Team won enough to become the villain.
We worked for Bill, but we played for Tom.
Bill tore Brady's head completely off. There's things that are done that can't be undone.
I was just trying to hold it together the best I could.
This team will be scrutinized, celebrated for as long as the game of football is played.
Interesting.
So I don't know. I know you're a Niners fan. I can't like, you know, you're the low-hanging fruit. I mean, I think that as a serious, and if you're a serious NFL fan, I think you kind of have to either watch that or you have to at some point, like maybe not now, but at some point, you know, you kind of have to pay homage to those accomplishments. And
no,
you know,
of course.
And Belichick's a Trumplican, okay. Could you hear the military in his voice, by the way? It's like you got to go out there and earn it in the NFL. I mean, you know, he grew up on the Naval Academy campus.
Oh, really?
His father was a coach for the Naval Academy football team. So my point is that the left needs to get comfortable with the intensity of pro sports. You know, a lot of lefty intellectuals are talking about not getting down to their level or not giving in to this pro sport dynamic. My attitude is that's the way it is.
Yeah.
That's hubris to think that you can change that.
Yeah.
That's arrogance to think that you can change that. No. That's who America is. You are not adapting. You are that's entitlement. That's what we accuse them of.
Yeah, it's literally, they think it's a fucking team sport. It's like...
And that's never going to change.
Yeah, it's not.
That's never going to change. They're always going to look at it as a team sport.
Yeah.
So we have to look at it as a team sport.
Even at their own expense. Even at their own expense. Like, even if, like, their own team is gutting their own livelihoods. And like,
they're fighting a lot right now. The right is really fighting.
It's insane. It's actually pretty funny right now. There's
it's pretty fun to watch. Except it lets the corporate Democrats off the hook, but whatever.
Yeah.
And we're not going to get big change for another cycle anyway. So.
Yeah, no kidding. But yeah, that's really all it comes down to. It's a team sport. They don't really care about what's wrong or what's right, as long as they feel like winners, even if they're not, you know. Shoot me.
All right, Puff Daddy, sex trafficking. What do we say about the latest cancellation in pop culture? My God, this is a big one, man. This is way bigger than R. Kelly.
I
mean, R. Kelly was a big deal. This is a bigger deal.
It's really funny because like when I went to In Shape the past couple days, they had like multiple TVs just up on the wall, you know. So like you had CNN. You had local news, you had Fox News, you had MSNBC. So I saw a lot of these like major headlines and whatnot, you know, just come up, you know. So I didn't. Of course, I already knew about like the Trump fines being reduced and the Scotus decision that's coming up or whatever. And this P. Diddy thing came up as well, and I didn't know what the context, like, fully of it was. Like, sure, you got closed caption on the TVs and whatnot. I assumed it had something to do with Biggie Smalls, but apparently it's not. Like, what exactly is going on in the world of P. Diddy right now?
Well, it's basically looking like an Epstein type of deal.
No way.
As far as I know, yeah, it looks like trafficking and. You know, not just, I'm not going to get into the details. I'm not, because I don't know them well enough. But gross. I got to tell you, this is just more fuel for the conspiracy theorists.
No, of course.
This is more of just like this. Not only are the rich and powerful and famous now, this is where we should talk about bubbles. Okay, There is the bubble of 1%er wealth. Then inside that, there's the bubble of 0.1% wealth. Huge difference. Huge.
Yeah.
And then within that, that's the bubble of really superlative wealth, okay, is 0.1%.
Yeah.
Then within that, there's the fame bubble, which very few people are also rich and famous, okay? And, and then within that, I argue the most, valuable form of celebrity is the pro athlete in America. The American pro athlete, specifically like quarterback or superstar NBA player, like they're gods in our society. It's not normal. They don't represent normal socioeconomic influence. Their influence is completely different.
Yeah.
Look at and pop star too. Like Taylor Swift is a great example. I mean, she can move the needle.
Yeah, no, exactly. And if you're too wrapped up in all of it, and you're not entirely self-aware, it could come with a bit of arrogance, and that can be detrimental. I think that's that was kind of like P. Diddy's thing for a while, is that he was notoriously arrogant and thought he would never be held accountable because he has gotten away with shady things in the past, like so I've heard, and from what I understand, he got a couple of his properties entirely raided, and I think he fled the friggin' country and just left his
Yeah,
kids
no, I
here.
know he tried to. I know he
yeah?
tried to. I know. He was like, or he was thinking about it. He was on a jet, like bound for like Bermuda or something.
Insane. Fucking
yeah,
nuts.
no,
that's
nuts.
like,
But
arrogant.
it makes you wonder.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if narcissistic personality disorder is inherited or conditioned, because that's clearly a product of conditioning. That kind of behavior, where you think you
I
are
think it's
entitled
both.
to people's bodies. You think you are
Oh,
entitled
God.
not just to have power over them and to tell them what to do, but you think you're entitled to like do what you want with their body.
Yeah.
Like that's enough. That's sociopathy. That's like not just sociopathy. That's evil. That's actively like
For real.
Yeah, you have to know
For
that
real.
you're messing with somebody. This is another chat from Bird Worldist. The funny thing is, if this Diddy raid would have happened under Trump, the MAGA Q maniacs would say that Trump is, quote, taking down the
Right.
human traffickers. Laugh out loud. Yep. Yep,
Yeah.
I think that's exactly how they would interpret it, man, because he is a false god to them. Isn't it amazing that the first commandment is thou shalt not worship any other god before me, and that's exactly what they do with guys like Trump. My favorite, I don't know if you've tapped into the evangelical community like of content out there, but there are people like this guy like Sid Roth who has a show called Supernatural, which basically tries to talk about science through the Bible. And it's just the most absurd crap you've ever come up with.
God.
And he has these guests on who are self-proclaimed prophets. Okay, so they get on there. I'm like, you're calling yourself a prophet?
Yeah.
Like that's
no.
not how it works, dude.
I
No.
do-
You speak truth, and then people start to call you a prophet. That's how it works. And then
Yeah.
maybe you're a prophet, but usually it's only after you're dead that it's decided whether or not you were a prophet. Like your truth has to be kind of realized and survive your death, and that's usually how the word prophet is respected in the halls of intellectualism. But
Yeah, I follow a couple accounts like Logicked and Telltale. A couple of notorious atheist skeptics. Telltale of which is a former Jehovah's Witness. Cuckoo bananas
God.
cult right there.
Wow.
Yeah, they cover people who claim to be prophets or tell of prophecies of like when the world's going to end, and it just never comes.
the rapture.
Yep, exactly. And
They're obsessed with the rapture. Something like
big
80%
time.
of evangelicals think that the rapture is going to take place in their lifetime. It's
Yeah.
absurd. That's the narcissistic Christianity I'm talking about, man,
Psychotic.
in my videos.
Psychotic.
It's really bad.
Yeah.
Because, and this is the thing about evil, okay? There are two things to know about evil. One is very kind of intuitive, if you actually ever thought about it long enough. The bad guy doesn't think he's the bad guy.
Exactly.
The bad guy thinks he's the good guy, okay?
Right.
That's number one. Number two, evil does not come in the form you expect it to. Evil has a better chance of success if it comes in an unexpected way. Think about it. What's a better way to destroy a religion? To take it on, head on, just go to war with it? Or to intellectually subvert it by politicizing it?
Yep.
That's what I think has happened in Christianity in America today. I think American culture and American politics has metaphysically raped Christianity in America.
I think
it has completely misbranded it. The
Yeah.
fidelity of what like Christ stood for, all that stuff, gone. It's people can't see past the MAGA conservative evangelical bullshit. And it's so sad because there's some really amazing hippie Christians out there, man. It's really sad.
Big time, yeah. No, I actually know of a couple. You absolutely freaking nailed it, though. They would rather, I mean, because they lost the debate. Like when the internet was beginning to flourish with debate, the earlier-ish days of YouTube, 2011 through I would say 2014, 2015, it was just ripe with religious debate, particularly between Christians and atheists, as well as creationists versus atheists and whatnot. And that, I mean, those debates have come and gone, and Christians realize we can't win in these debates. We can't outsmart these atheists. They
because they did their homework.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, exactly. They don't have the capabilities.
If you actually, the funny
to
thing
actually,
is, you can win those arguments by using their own text against them.
Exactly.
You'd be like, oh, this is actually what Jesus
Exactly.
stood for. Jesus actually hated the rich.
Right.
Jesus actually loved immigrants.
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes is, "Nothing turned me atheist quicker than reading the Bible itself." It's insane. And what you just said earlier, they would rather politicize religious texts or teachings or what have you. They would rather turn it into this thing to where it's like sensationalized, rather than iron out what's realistic about it, what's honest, what's truthful about it. They rather make it like something to scare you and keep you controlled, basically, and that's really honestly how it's been for centuries.
Yeah. No, I was talking with a friend of mine and talking about religion, and I was talking about, I won't say which one, but a religion that may or may not have been Christianity, where I was kind of reducing it down and said, I don't know everything about this religion, but it seems to me like it's kind of designed to subjugate women. And she was like, well, that's kind of all religions. And I thought about it more.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know enough about Buddhism or Hinduism to comment on those.
Sure.
And I don't probably know enough about Judaism, but I've studied Islam and I know a hell of a lot about Christianity. And based on what I know, looks like it's there to subjugate women.
It's literally patriarchal.
Yeah.
Like that's
It really
literally
is.
how it is. I mean,
It's not complicated, is it?
it's not like it's like for as long as they've existed, like women are treated as concubines, as second-class citizens, as
Because they are physically vulnerable.
yeah,
Right?
and that's how they're portrayed. That's how they're treated.
Right.
It's hell, they've only been allowed to vote in the United States for the last century. It's been that's literally how it was all written to subjugate women.
And, if you were to actually like study Christ teachings, just like New Testament stuff, not the Paul, the epistle letters, like people don't even know the difference between the Gospels and the epistles. Like this guy, Paul, the apostle, okay, if you ever want to know if someone knows their homework, you ask them who founded Christianity. If they say Jesus, do not respect anything they have to say about Christianity after that. Okay, it was Paul the apostle, and he wrote all these letters trying to expand the community, the first real evangelist. And, if you separate if you just do the life of Christ that we know about, he would talk about this subjugation as sin. I mean, the Mother Mary is one of the most prolific, is the second most prolific figure of the New Testament, huge part of Catholicism.
Yeah, of
and
course.
where's, and what I've always been calling for is I want other Christian leaders to step up and get in the face of evangelical Christians and say, these people are not of the same cloth as we are. This is not the same religion. This is not Christianity. The prosperity gospel, Joel Osteen, all those people, roast them. And that's why I'm going to get to talking about, I say you can complain all you want as long as you at some point propose a solution, right? Mm-hmm. So one of my solutions to how are we going to pay for it? How are we going to pay for it? Tax mega churches. They are for-profit businesses. Those are not viable religious institutions, and you can add Scientology to the list.
Yes, please. For crying out loud, please. I would argue just churches in general. Honestly, that would...
No, they have to have more than like $1 million or something. Most churches are struggling. You don't want to hurt. You can't tax all the churches.
You're right. Yeah.
There has to be a threshold. It's like whatever the net revenue is.
I agree with that. Yeah.
There's some threshold out there.
Of course. Yeah.
No, this would only be It's like It's like the tax code, dude. All you need to do is go after the big boys, and you get to pay for everything.
Yeah, it shouldn't get to a point where like churches are becoming so large and so, I guess, protected publicly from taxation, or even publicly funded. I would even imagine to where they're getting comparisons to college stadiums. Like that level of wealth, that level of extravagance, and money.
Have you watched The Righteous Gemstones? On HBO, or was on? It's called Max. Check it out, Righteous Gemstones. It's about the commercialization of Christianity in America. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
We're at 110 minutes. I got 4 viewers, which is I think a record for me. So thank you guys for watching and sticking with us. Let's blitz through some more stuff that we want. We did the state-specific polls. The Trump fines were reduced. I guess the rules still don't apply to him. Again, I'm telling everybody the attitude with him is, as far as legal consequences go for his actions, I'll believe it when I see it. Have that attitude. Just don't expect anything real until it actually happens, because the election's right around the corner.
Yeah.
And if he wins, and none of this stuff and a lot of this stuff is still not resolved, we got ourselves a constitutional crisis on our hands.
No kidding. Like when I saw those headlines, because they were reduced from like 464 million down to 175 million. Like I I heard your words echoing in my head. Like, I'll believe it when I see it. It's just like, God damn it! Like, what the fuck?
No, it's the best, man. If you've ever worked on like a big time deal or anything, or like moving more than more than 8 figures,
Yeah.
If you're moving 9 figures, obviously, the bigger the pile of money, the slower it moves. So I always say, if you're in the deal making business, do not get emotionally gratified until you see the money in the bank account.
Yeah.
Don't
no kidding.
Get your hopes up until you see the money in the bank account. Then have your stogie. Then have your cigar.
Yeah. I want to know like specifically what. I think it's because like him and his team won an appeal, and that's what got the fine reduced or something like that.
Yeah, some bullshit. It was some committee of judges that let him off the hook and just decided that we could get it now if he gets
seriously, because he
gets every break in the world.
He couldn't secure a bond, and he was on the brink of having his assets seized, and I was holding out so much hope for that, and it's like, you were totally right on that aspect, because like it would have been just like remarkable to see. It would have absolutely destroyed him, and I guess we just can't have that.
No. Scotus is weighing in on an abortion pill. Apparently 60% of abortions are done chemically. which I didn't know, and every man should know that.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true.
That was actually part of my kind of writing on this issue. Is I think that the pill should be available at every CVS and Walgreens and Rite Aid in America.
Yeah, just
And
like
I think
Plan
you
B
should,
is.
if you're a woman of, I don't know, any age, or I don't know what the threshold is, but that should be available for free.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and if you need that pill, then you should get it for free, or maybe $1 a pill or something. I don't know, like,
Yeah,
but it should be really easy to access.
Yeah.
And because there's just no reason, it's better for everybody. Most importantly, the woman.
Yeah.
So
100%.
let's just make healthcare freaking available, and we won't have to have these rural, uneducated whites from the South getting up in people's business.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, in order for them to feel morally superior to those city folk, they have to hold on to abortion. That has to be their issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's pathetic.
Yeah.
Get a life, you losers.
Right.
Get a life, you losers, man.
Whereas, like, in these deep red states, teen pregnancy is through the friggin' roof.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, there's... I mean, I don't even know if it's, like... I'm sure there's a lack of contraceptives down there. You know...
Lack of education.
They're
not having the right... They're not getting the right sex ed. They're not getting the right sex ed. Everyone's supposed to have sex ed at 8th grade at the latest.
Yeah,
and usually have it
on
multiple
top of that,
times. I remember going through sex ed at least twice, once in 5th grade and once in 8th grade at least, and there's probably some other stints in there.
Right.
Like, one of the things about education is repetition. I mean, how many times did we study the Civil Rights Movement? How many times did we study the Civil War from kindergarten through 12th grade? Like, a few, quite a few.
Mm-hmm.
And that's important because those staple pieces of knowledge are really important for a society to function properly and function better and grow and evolve.
Yeah. And healthcare, like, in access,
so basic
in general, like, yeah,
it's
because
so bad, and it's bad business. It's bad business for people to be unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
People can contribute to the economy. You know, look at autism, for example. There are, like, really specific jobs that autistic people are, like, really good at because they have obsessive minds, like data cleaning and stuff like that.
Oh,
so
yeah.
And obviously, you know, there are different cases of autism, like
course.
degrees
It's
of
on a spectrum,
intensity.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but the ones who are kind of debilitatingly autistic, like, we need to get them plugged into a life, like, soon. Like, get them into a routine that works for them to have peace and the opportunity to be happy. I'm a big believer in, like, not over promising, right?
Of course.
So we can provide a society which provides the opportunities for happiness, but it's kind of on the individual human to choose the happiness. I mean, that's where you get into start talking about depression and willful anxiety and, you know, letting the fear win. And at some point, you know, you just kind of give up on someone if they keep, you know, you keep asking someone, hey, let's go do something fun. And they keep going, no, I'm not interested. No, I'd rather watch TV, and they never want to do anything fun.
Right.
Kind of give up after a while, right? Well, that's what kind of the dynamic that I'm talking about.
Right. Yeah, I'm kind of I totally feel that on like a really deep level. Like, the older people get, and I have friends in their 30s, like well into their 30s, and it's like not many of them, like, their idea of a good time or having, like, a night is it's not going out per se. It's staying in, you know, watching movies and
right. And that's fine.
You know,
and that's fine for them. You know, if that's what makes them happy, then that's fine. I'm just saying that you know, as far as dealing with special needs people,
of course,
I think we should have that would be so uplifting. Can you imagine, like, once a year, like, why don't we have, like, a special needs day or something? Like, why is there a special needs day? And I just don't know about it.
I'm sure there is. Like,
yeah,
like
well, it
of
needs
some
to be
sort.
it needs to be a bigger deal. I mean, that stuff is so heartwarming. Like, seeing, like, people who have those issues get special treatment and actually find happiness, and you see the smile, and it's like, oh my God, like, they're human beings, you know?
Yeah,
and
totally agree.
And just like that, we could do the same thing with veterans. There's no reason why California can't solve like kind of on a smaller scale the bigger problems facing a lot of other states, and we could be a paradigm.
Yeah, and even if
what I don't understand is we had so much political power here for so long, and these problems are still just kind of inching along, man. More incrementalism.
Yeah, even if it's not fundamentally shape-shifting or groundbreaking or substantial, like significant in general, it can still be championed. It can still be publicized. It can still be, hey, like campaigned on, or like, hey, look at what we did. Look at the results. People should take our lead. This was such a success. Like pass it off, play it off as a success, and not only will you get people engaged with it, more in tune to what's going on, and like you get people's attention, like that opens the door to perhaps more funding to it, or getting it expanded, or maybe other states take a look and say like, huh, I want to give that a try, see what we can do with it. Like you can take a look at, like, there's a couple states right now. I think it was the Minnesota governor, and I think the Connecticut governor.
Are you talking about medical debt?
Yeah, getting forgiven.
Yeah, so it's Connecticut and Arizona.
Connecticut, Arizona. Yeah.
Yeah, so I got an idea relevant to that's going to come out in a video essay in probably, it's going to be a while, so I can't talk about it now. But
right. Yeah, but shit like that. Dude.
Yeah, debt. It's like, hold on, keep talking.
No, yeah, like if you have the means to do so, like if you can buy a debt for a fraction of the price and just forgive it, that's like it's mind blowing in a way, Like
medical debt is the number one cause of bankruptcy.
Exactly, and it would help so many people. Like if you have a surplus, if you have the extra tax revenue to do so, like not only is that great politics, but like you're helping so many people. It's just good all around. Like there's really no downside to it.
Okay, so medical debt is one thing. Overall debt is another, including the big one, the high interest, is credit card debt. Now, give me a guess. What percentage of America do you think is carrying credit card debt right now?
Are you talking about like credit card debt as in
as in they didn't make their complete balance last month? As in they've got $10,000 on a card somewhere.
Like the percentage of Americans that have like that amount of credit.
What percentage of Americans are in that situation?
I want to say, I'll say 30%.
No, 49%, according to a November 2023 survey.
Damn.
Of 2,350 people. So that's a pretty large sample size, actually.
That's
so
pretty
general,
big.
half the country's in credit card debt. So that's what the idea that I've got going on is going to be relevant to, is how do we get around credit card debt? Because I don't think we can do wealth redistribution on the scale or at the pace required. So, and this is where I've got to do more research, but the problem is people's wealth doesn't move necessarily. They go out, they make a bunch of money from their job, they save, they buy a home, or real wealth is investing in the market. Okay?
Yeah.
And they invest in stocks and bonds and whatever, all sorts of other things. And the money just sits there and grows. Meanwhile, this person is living off of their income. And this is the wealthy person. This is a successful person. So they're continuing to live off of their normal salary and income, but that money that they're stashing away is growing and growing and growing. And it's not moving, so it's not getting taxed. Money doesn't get taxed unless it moves. So we've got to figure out what's the transition that happens. And I don't necessarily agree that money, when it does come out of the market, should get taxed. I don't know what that tax number should be. 50%? I mean, it depends on how much it is. It depends on how much money you made. So if you bought a stock for $100 and then 10 years from then it's worth $1,000, okay? So you made 10x. So if you sold, right? So what would that be? So what would a fair tax on that be if I netted 10x on my investment in 10 years?
Are you talking Are you talking about capital gains?
Capital gains.
Yeah. No.
I know it's like 23% depending on the amount of money. It's somewhere between 10 and 23%.
Yeah. Definitely depending. I think it should.
It depends on the amount of money, right? It depends on how big the transaction.
It should,
and it's exponential. It's not linear.
Yeah. I think it should definitely be more so tied to their income, like the income tax that they pay, like what tax bracket they land in. I think that would be the most sensible way to approach it. But
that's the way Eisenhower did it.
Yeah.
Tax rate in Eisenhower was like 90% or something.
Yeah,
like
exactly. Blue Eyes says, "Hey, hello, welcome." But yeah, that seems like the most sensible way to approach it, because I remember like during 2020, a lot of even the more centrist Democrats on the stage were championing or pushing for raising capital gains tax.
Right.
Thought spasm.
Yeah. Elizabeth Warren talked about a 2% tax on people's net worth of over $50 million.
Yes, like every dollar made, a wealth tax. Every dollar made over that would be taxed at 2%.
But how do you assess that? Because there's only so much the government is entitled to know about your money. The government is entitled to know everything about your money.
Right.
Like, this is where you get into that conflict over individual privacy.
It would be,
for example, I know, like, for example, I don't know all the tricks, but I know one of the tricks is real estate. One of the tricks is when you get, like, when you're wealthy and you have more money than you know what to do with, go buy real estate and just sit on it.
Yeah.
And, either rent it out as houses, whatever. It doesn't matter what you do with it. The point is the money's protected in the value of that real estate.
Yeah.
And then when you need the money, you can sell it 10, 20 years later.
Yeah.
When you don't, and the point is that money never gets taxed until you take it out. And that's the other thing, is you can time up when you take it out with the way the capital gains tax moves. So that's why Trump is such a sexy political possibility for 0.1 percenters, is because they figure, when he's in office, he's going to bring capital gains down, which is what he did in 16.
Yeah.
And then, or 17 rather, and after the 16 election, and then they get their money out at a cheaper capital gains rate than they would have had Obama been president.
Yep. If I'm not mistaken, that was all tied into the big tax plan that he passed.
The big tax cut that he did, yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. We're back up to, let's see, abortion bill, Israel, Gaza. Do you have some stuff on Israel, Gaza? And then we'll finish off with that and call it a night.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the U.S. abstained from...
allowing the vote, right?
Yep. It got through. It was after...
At the UN?
Yeah. And so it's something. It's not... it is a big deal. Like it does allow for a ceasefire. Excuse me, but it's if Israel's not allowing aid in, it's not really going to change the humanitarian situation on the ground very much. From what I understand, there's going to be a hostages released. I believe Hamas and Israel even have their own deal. But the U.S. is even saying to Israel, like enough is enough. Basically, like I haven't really gone through like the finer details of the ceasefire, but of course, like Netanyahu canceled his summit that he was going to actually have over here in the U.S. because the biggest thing that the U.S. is saying to them right now is do not go into Rafah. There will be consequences if you go into Rafah, which is basically like literally like the last safe zone, and I say the word safe like quite loosely, that's left for Palestinian civilians in Gaza. You know, there are countless people trapped in the north, and they're all starving. Like there's literally a famine right now. It's level 5 famine. There are hundreds of thousands of people, at risk of starving right now. People are starving every single day. But like everybody in the U.S. State Department, basically, and even the White House is saying, like, a Rafah offensive is a horrendous idea, and the U.S. will not stand for it all. This is like the red line and whatnot. And of course, you got all sorts of Israeli leaders and officials throwing a little baby tantrum over, the U.S. not stepping up and vetoing the resolution. And kick rocks. Honestly, who cares? Like it's what's happening right now is beyond atrocious. On top of the famine, on top of the people starving, just the war crimes being committed by the IDF. All of this is intentional, and it's like inarguable at this point. Like I don't know if you saw AOC's appearance on CNN, or even her speech in Congress. It's so real. And
finally,
no kidding.
I mean, a little bit late to the party,
right?
Always.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's been her position this entire time, but she has been there long enough.
Well, I'm sure she was pushing to be the one to say something for a while. The fact that she got to be the one to say it,
of course,
was indicative of probably how hard she was pushing behind closed doors to be the one to say it. I mean, I think she's got a lot of Jewish New Yorkers in her district, right?
Of course, it's all about that's probably a big aspect of it too. But like, it really is all about timing and phrasing and knowing your constituency as well. Because, I mean, I'm sure she's wanted to say these words publicly for months now, but of course the public perception it's needed to change, and it's finally shifting, and it's just like an ebb and flow thing. Like you can't just go out there and otherwise you just sound like an unhinged lunatic, even though like you understand the reality of the situation, but like you're basically risking political capital. It's a disgusting game, but finally, like, what's been needed to be said for months now is being laid out bare for everybody to hear. So hopefully, things start changing like immediately, because it's
not going to.
Of course not.
No.
Yeah.
God, man, you still got that like 20s optimism in you. It's really cute.
It's a little bit there. It's slowly waned over time. Like that's for damn sure. I mean, I just like to be optimistic in general, like just out of spite. Out of spite, like, more than anything, yeah.
Well, what's it been? You had 8 years, so you were 20, so you had it from Obama. So when you started thinking for yourself, Obama was president.
Yes.
And then you had Trump when you were 22.
Yeah, and I was a lot more conservative-minded back then.
Sure.
Like, I had I was a lot more politically illiterate back then, so to speak. And so I fell for a lot of the right-wing grift that was emerging at the time. I got someone in my audience saying, this is from Blue Eyes, what do you guys think about the president of Mexico saying he'll slow down the illegals only if Biden gives them $20 billion?
I haven't heard of anything about that.
I didn't hear about that either.
I'd be surprised if that's...
Not to mention...
surprised if that's real. How does that even work? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I don't even know how you'd be able to enforce anything like that. But
the other thing we were going to maybe talk about was RFK Jr.'s VP pick, who is this woman, Nicole Shanahan, who's like an attorney or whatever.
Who's that?
I don't know, man. I thought about. Do you want to watch? She's got like a 25-minute. I don't want to do this. I can't do this. This woman sucks.
Probably.
I can already tell I'm gonna hate her. If
Probably
she
not.
catches fire and makes some sound bites happen, then we'll do her. You know,
Sure.
well, maybe we'll do her tomorrow night. Are you gonna? Well, anyway, we'll sign off now. It's been great talking to you guys. And you have any parting thoughts, Stat Pat? Otherwise, I'm gonna call it a night.
What a damn weekend.
Yeah.
Thoughts to, I mean, whoever has to endure the consequences of that bridge collapse, tragic stuff. But, yeah, I'm trying to keep my head.
It's a Holy Week this week.
What's that?
It's a Holy Week this week for Christians.
It
Good
is.
Friday and Easter on Sunday.
Oh,
Yep.
that's right. Easter's this Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, that's gonna be interesting. We'll see how that.
My 40th birthday on Sunday.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
I got to make an episode about it. I got to do a little video for it. I don't know what I'm going to talk about yet. My
sure.
my 10s, 20s, 30s, 40. No, 10s. What am I talking about? 40s, 10s, 20s, and 30s. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
I don't remember the single digits. I'll do the single digits too. Maybe I'll do a little summary.
Hell
Here's
yeah.
what I remember from each of. Here are like my 5 biggest memories from each of these decades, or
Sure.
something.
There you go.
Something like that. That's a cool way to go with it.
Yeah.
You know, what else do I have to talk about, really? All I got is my word and my balls. And I don't break neither for nobody.
Well, according to Blue Eyes, it was apparently an interview that AMLO gave where he mentioned that. It's like, I mean, that bill that was struck down by Republicans, that border bill or whatever it was, that Trump.
Yeah, it was very conservative. It was very Republican friendly.
It was like, and you know, like, AMLO's not stupid. Like he calls the Republicans bluffs more than often. Like, hey, if the border is such a big deal, you know, if it's such a problem, work with us. Work with our military. Right. Like we'll work together on securing the border and whatnot. So, I mean, he's a smart guy. I'll have to look into that. But yeah, looking forward to seeing what this next week brings and what we'll have to talk about next week.
All right, Patriots. You guys have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday, and we will maybe see you tomorrow night. We'll let you know. I'll post, and you'll see it on my feed if we are. Thank you all very much. Have a wonderful evening.
Have a good weekend, guys.
And we are